Caleb, a true example of faith, perseverance, and spiritual strength. Caleb's story is not just about physical strength. It is a powerful lesson on the spiritual strength that comes from a heart fully devoted to God. Unlike many other biblical figures, Caleb was not known for miracles or supernatural feats, but rather for the steadfastness of his faith and his unwavering perseverance over decades. He faced tremendous challenges throughout his life. He lived as a slave in Egypt. He survived 40 years in the wilderness. He was one of the 12 spies sent to explore Canaan. He waited 45 years to receive God's promise. At 85 years old, he still had the strength to fight giants and conquer the promised land. His story teaches us that God is faithful to his promises, but it is up to us to trust and persevere. Caleb's unshakable faith and courage at 85. Even in old age, Caleb remained strong, determined, and confident in God. He declared to Joshua, "I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then." Joshua 14 verse 11. Not only that, but he asked for the most difficult land to conquer, where the fearsome Anakite giants lived. Caleb did not ask for an easy path, nor did he avoid challenges, because his trust was in the Lord. The biblical context. Israel's journey through the wilderness. After 400 years of slavery in Egypt, God delivered his people through Moses. The goal was to lead them to Canaan, a land flowing with milk and honey. However, before they could take possession of the land, the people needed to trust God and obey his commands. The 12 spies in Canaan. Before entering the promised land, Moses sent 12 spies to scout the territory and report back on its conditions. Their mission was to assess. White heavy check mark the land, whether it was fertile or barren. White heavy check mark the inhabitants, whether they were strong or weak. White heavy check mark the cities, whether they were fortified or unprotected. The spies spent 40 days exploring Canaan and returned with a detailed report. However, 10 of them spread a negative report, claiming that Canaan was filled with giants and that it would be impossible to conquer. The people, overwhelmed with fear, began to doubt God, forgetting all the miracles they had witnessed in Egypt. But Caleb saw the situation differently. With boldness, he declared, "Let us go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." Numbers 13:30. He believed that if God had promised them the land, nothing could stand in the way of their victory. Caleb's perspective: seeing opportunities where others saw obstacles. The fear of the other spies. The 10 spies focused only on the challenges ahead. Crossmark: the land devours its inhabitants. Crossmark: the men are giants, descendants of Anak. Crossmark: we felt like grasshoppers compared to them. Caleb's unshakable trust in God. Caleb, on the other hand, looked beyond the difficulties and saw God's promise. He knew that God was greater than any giant. While the other spies brought fear and discouragement to the people, Caleb brought encouragement and faith. He and Joshua were the only 2 among the 12 spies who fully trusted in God. Because of this, they were the only ones from their generation who entered the promised land. The reward of faithful obedience. While the rest of their generation perished in the wilderness due to their unbelief, Caleb stood firm and was rewarded. God himself declared, "My servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly. I will bring him into the land he explored, and his descendants will inherit it." Numbers 14:24. What can we learn from Caleb's story? True faith does not focus on obstacles but on God's promises. Heavy checkmark perseverance is essential to receiving what God has promised. Heavy checkmark our age or circumstances are never limitations when we trust in the Lord. Heavy checkmark those who believe and obey God are rewarded. Caleb's story teaches us that no matter how great the challenge, when our trust is in God, we can conquer even the impossible. The difference between Caleb and the rest was not his physical strength, but his unshakable faith in God. If this video inspired you, like, share, and continue seeking to grow in faith.